I'm sitting here today with Nigel Eaton, General Manager at MyQ. Welcome, Nigel, and thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Glad to be here. Thank you.
MyQ has got a robust suite of solutions designed to meet a range of customers' needs, whether that's on-premise or in the cloud. Based on your experiences in the market, what would you say are the major challenges for businesses when managing their print infrastructure?
Okay, so the marketplace, as we've known it over the past few years, has just turned on its head. It's become a lot more dynamic than it's ever been, and it's changing more rapidly in scope and the nature of the way things work. We are, for example, seeing things like AI becoming more common in the marketplace now. We're also very clearly aware that the world has changed in terms of security. So one of the biggest threats to security at the moment is things like hacking and hijacking. So infrastructure security is a key as well. If you look at print estates, we know that print volumes are declining slightly. We know that scan volumes are rising slightly. The other thing that we're seeing in the market as well is we're seeing smaller fleets. So more centralization of the fleet. We saw it a few years ago when the sort of smaller desktop units became more in terms of 3 or 4 larger MFDs placed in strategic locations. That's kind of waned away with people working from home and things like that. But we're definitely seeing that coming back again now. So fewer devices, and therefore those devices need to be more robust and offer more functions. But equally, the ethos here at MyQ is to build solutions to make people efficient. So we build a lot of our infrastructure around making those users have the ability to walk up to a device and not have the confusion and the complexity that ruins their efficiency. By doing that, they can get to a device, they can see what they want to do straight away, they can perform that task, and they can be back to their desk. That saves time. Time is obviously money. But also, if you consider environmental concerns, the less time a copier is in use, the less energy it's using. The biggest change to that for me as well is that is now no longer the case that person could be sitting in an office. That person could be sitting here where I am today in a club. I don't have access to IT, but if I still need to get a document into a workflow, I can do that with something like the MyQ Roger app. I can have that document scanned, straightened, despeckled, PDF, and sent off to a colleague or into a workflow within 30, 40 seconds. So that's the big change, I think, in the marketplace, is how you allow those customers to take that journey from working in the office 5 days a week, 8 till 5, through to working anywhere at any time and needing all those tools and all those functions available to them, while still being able to meet the security and efficiency requirements that the customers have.
So we've touched on this, but digital transformation remains a major priority for businesses across all sectors. And there's obviously lots of discussion around enabling a hybrid workforce, reducing on-premise infrastructure, and enabling greater productivity wherever and whenever employees choose to work.
Yeah.
Print and how it's managed remains relevant in a digital world. I don't think there's any argument that stacks up against that. But do you think companies are given enough focus to the print area when they are creating and establishing and rolling out their DX strategies?
Yeah, so there are 2 types of documents in the workplace that you commonly see. There are those documents that are paper-based, but there are a lot of documents that are what they call born digital.
Yes.
So that is the more common document type I think you tend to find in most workplace or organizations now. The document was created digitally, it's moving around digitally, but there are certain organizations where that doesn't really work. Finance is one, legal is another, and there are a number of other ones along those lines. Accountancy would be a really good example of that. So that, those have to be considered, is getting a document into a digital format and then moving that document forwards from there. What you tend to find is organizations tend to have that as a sort of secondary thought. because they're thinking digitally from the beginning. It's a digital transformation. So digital is the word they tend to focus on, and transformation sometimes can fall quietly behind. We are seeing a growth in the marketplace of standalone scanners now. So people are getting more used to digitizing documents. But for products like MyQ, we've now got to look at that and say, well, we need to go a step further. So the buzzword at the moment in the marketplace is AI.
Yes.
But AI is not a new thing. It's been around since the 50s. The first real area of AI that came into the printing world was OCR. So OCR is a form of AI. It's taking document information, it's reading it, and it's doing something with it. That is basically what AI is. What we're now seeing is companies who are focusing more on looking at the content of a document. So the next generation of AI is able to read a document, understand what the document is actually saying, and then route the document according to what it's finding within it. And the challenge to organizations is how to integrate that from a paper-based document rather than from a born digital document, where that's a relatively straightforward task. And that's where the challenge to companies like MyQ, with our fleet of solutions, we have to consider that not just for those customers who are sitting in the office with all the IT infrastructure behind them with the MFD there to scan on, but also when they want to move that document when they're working on mobile or working from home, as equally well as they would do if they were sitting in their office.
So it's interesting, you've touched on artificial intelligence, and we've got cloud as well, both of which are becoming mainstream.
Yeah.
So how do you see both of those technologies impacting MyQ's go-to-market strategy and product positioning, I suppose, as well?
The question around cloud, that one's been with us for a little while. AI, not so much. Let's talk about cloud first. So organizations are on the journey either into cloud or further into cloud as we speak. There are a lot of things for them to consider in that area. Efficiency, security being a huge one. You know, when we had customers based within a secure IT environment managed by internal IT, everything was secure, we knew everything was, we could tighten things down. We've now got people working remotely. They may not be working in an office where the infrastructure is owned by the organization, such as a shared workspace. Equally, they may be working from home 2 days a week, 3 days a week, and therefore security is an area we've got to look at in that respect. From the software point of view, we're getting a lot more questions around things like penetration testing, whether our development is secure, and also making sure we can prove that and certificate that, which of course we can. The other elements into cloud are infrastructure itself. So many organizations cannot simply go from on-premise to cloud in a single hit. They work their way across that over a period of time. So you start with some centralized services within a single environment. They then perhaps move to centralized servers, but they move their infrastructure outside into the cloud. So site servers become more normal, and there's the relative complexity that goes with that. And then you find they move into full cloud. But when they move into full cloud, they start to look at things like security and failover as being key areas. So from a software manufacturer's point of view, we've got to be hot on our security. We've got to be watching the trends in the marketplace to make sure that the things that are happening, we're following suit with. And obviously the rise of things like cloud storage are a big part of that. So MyQ has direct interaction with things like OneDrive, SharePoint, Google Drive, because those are important to customers because that's where they're now storing their documents.
Yep.
If you look at where we're going in terms of our ability to position our markets in that, recently with MyQ 10.1, we've moved closer to give those customers interaction at their devices with folders with cloud. So for example, it's now perfectly possible to walk up to a device without a PC, to access a network folder or a cloud repository for a document, preview that document on the device, make sure it's the right document, make any changes to it, double-sided, color, and then print it all without the need to actually have a PC with you. That gives people the ability to walk into a situation where they can retrieve their documents quickly and easily from the cloud, whereas you haven't got to have the big IT setup or set yourself up on a hot desk or some sort of infrastructure to get that up and running. MyQ Roger was designed in Element to do all of those things, but to give that user the ability to do that sitting in a cafe. So the ability to move a document into a workflow in the right format with the right features, and the ability to put something into a print queue so that when you return to the organisation office later on, you can get that document printed there. Cloud is always going to be a journey. We introduced subscription licensing a couple of years ago to give customers flexibility to be able to move and end contracts and move into cloud if they wanted to from an on-premise solution. So if they were running on MyQX, they could come to a natural stop on that and then move to cloud and take up a MyQ Roger subscription and move into a full cloud. So we're looking at that from a point of view of not just the product features, but the availability for the customer to buy and interact with the product as well. AI is a different thing altogether. It's not new, as I mentioned earlier. It's been with us since the 50s. But AI, I think over the last 12 months has become a really hot topic, even to government and security levels. That's been boosted largely by things like ChatGPT, which have come into the market and dominated areas in certain markets. Journalism would be an obvious one, education would be another. But equally, developers are now being able to move away from repetitioning code because AI can do some of that work for them. From our own point of view, we've introduced AI tools already. So we've got AI OCR running on our mobile apps. So we're interacting with documents along those lines, and there will be more of that. On the customer service side of things, our document channels, we've put AI tools in there to help our customers not just dig for information around our standard documents, but to go there with the ability to ask a simple question of the AI bot and get their answer for them and the references to where that information was found. So that's a really useful feature as well. And of course, our development team are working more and more with these technologies to develop further.
So it's interesting, you've just finished by saying the development team are working to further develop new technologies. So can you give us a sneak peek into the product roadmap for 2024?
I am, and I must say a big thanks to Radek Tetik, our CTO. He had a recent interview with Luella at Quocirca, and he's given us a lot of information that, given that he's shared it publicly, I think it's comfortable to say that I can as well. The first thing to look at is our flagship product, so looking at MyQX. So where is MyQX going? So MyQX, new tools coming into MyQX for the next build, which is 10.2. That will predominantly be around improvements in the user interface. That's already one of our key features, particularly for those customers who use it on a mixed fleet environment, because they're getting used to their own personalized interface, irrespective of the device they move on. So we're seeing some nice improvements in that, and also some improvements in the administration side as well, as we continue to develop the product and make it easier for the admins to roll out printers into queues and devices from there, but also to centralize functions and connectivity to things like the cloud storage. MyQ Roger, coming up for 3 years old. The important thing with any product is to talk to your customers and understand their requirements. As we've moved more towards Roger becoming a product in demand in the enterprise sector, so certain demands have come into us that the product now needs to meet. So there'll be a brand new management console coming into MyQ Roger relatively soon. And that will be centralized functions, for example, things like the management of workflows, a more robust reporting suite, cost centers, those sort of functions. That's coming on the back of the recently introduced MyQ Roger desktop client, which has allowed us, for example, now to interact with single function devices and opened us up more to print from pretty much any device you have in your office. But then you also look at things like, how can we introduce something new to market? One of the things I mentioned earlier on was a centralization of the printer hardware. But the world is changing, and we're introducing a brand new concept to the market, and that's called print sharing. Our developers are ready. We've got some legal work to do to open it up to the market. We've got some customers out in the market testing it for us now, but it's a brand new concept. The idea is put print somewhere people want to use it. Make it standalone. So MyQ print sharing is a standalone kiosk where customers can interact, self-register, print, scan and copy, pay for their interaction use on their smartphone, and then move away. It's the ability, for example, to put something into a hotel business centre, into a shared workspace, into an airport. I don't think Mr. O'Leary would particularly want somebody putting a printer right next to one of his check-in desks, but you can imagine the concept. But the idea is that people can interact with that device in a public area without the need for it to be staffed, without the IT infrastructure complexity that would necessarily sit behind it, with a very simple self-registration and pay-as-you-use facility. So plenty coming from MyQ, and I haven't even mentioned MyQ Next yet. So MyQ Next is our next generation product. That is the product that will replace MyQ X, and it will appear in the market, I would say, somewhere around the end of 2024. One of the key features on that, and one of the ones I can talk about, is that we will start to allow MyQ Roger and MyQ X to interact with each other. So when you're working in your office, you will enjoy the features and the functions of a fully robust print management solution, which MyQ X gives you. But if you want to break away and work in a hybrid scenario, MyQ Roger gives you the ability to take your office away with you, work away from the office, but still have all that analytics and reporting back in to the centralized functions. So plenty going on. And as we know, the market is very dynamic. So we're always going to have to react to things like security concerns, changes from the main software providers, people like Microsoft and Google, and keep ourselves ahead of the game, because we don't win awards, as we got our recent 3 in a row Platinum Award from BLI. So I'm absolutely delighted around that. But we don't win those without hard work, and that's what our developers are very good at. And we should give a lot of credit to them.
Nigel, thank you very much for sharing that information. In particular, some quite exciting new plans about your roadmap for 2024. Seems the developers at MyQ HQ aren't standing still. There's lots to come, and I look forward to hearing more about print sharing and MyQ Next in the future.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. It is an exciting time to be in the market, especially to be here at MyQ. We really are pushing boundaries and driving forwards with every step, and we'll hope to continue to do so.